Good afternoon, everyone. So today we have gathered here to have a full-fledged panel discussion on a very wonderful topic. So the topic of discussion that we have for today is that whether Ireland can be the study abroad destination for 2021. So we have gathered the industry experts and the stalwarts of the Irish education ecosystem. So without a further ado, I'll give you a quick introduction of the panel that we have. So we have Ms. Wendy D'Souza, who is the Senior Vice President, Education and EdTech, India and South Asia Education in Ireland. Then we have Ms. Lauren Woods, who's the Global South Asia Manager for UCD. We have Mr. Aritra Ghosal, who is the founder and director at One Step Global. We have Mr. Suneet Singh Kochar, who is the CEO at Fateh Education. And we have Mr. Prasad Kholi, who is the head of student recruitment and agent, India and South Asia at Dublin Business School. So just to give you a quick idea, so the format of this panel discussion would be that for the first 75 odd minutes, I'll be asking the pre-decided questions that we have to our various panelists and industry experts. And during the last 15-20 odd minutes, we'll open the Q&A session. So whoever is having any doubt, they can type the question in the chat box and we'll take it up from here. So just without wasting any time, I'll begin the panel discussion. So like always, Ms. Wendy, the first question is directed towards you. So to continue with our discussion, I just wanted to ask, like, how do you think Ireland can be the study abroad destination for 2021?
Thanks, Aman. Thanks for this session. I think Ireland is kind of, kind of a hotspot for international education. It is a safe and friendly country. Okay, it has always welcomed, international students with open arms. Even currently, we have over 40,000 international students studying there from 161 countries. So you can see how diverse it is. The courses that are there, which are they're industry led, so it enables students to be highly employable once they graduate. Also, with the 2 years post-study work visa scheme, okay, it is very beneficial for the students because it allows them to basically stay back and then get a job, or which suits their needs and realize all their dreams. I also truly believe, that an education and higher education in Ireland will really give the students the edge they are looking for. And Aman, I would like to ask you to just play that video so that students can get a flavor of what they can expect in Ireland.
Certainly, I'll do that. I'll just share my screen and play the video.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, can you please confirm if you're able to see it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We can't hear it.
Just a second. Are you not able to hear it?
No, we can't hear it.
You would have to enable this thing from your settings, security settings. You have to enable that.
So I can't see any particular pop-up as of now, but for the time being, can we, just play the video and see the subtitles if that works out?
Okay, just do it from the beginning again.
Yeah.
So actually, if you all could read the subtitles, it does show why Ireland has the edge and why you should be looking at Ireland, and why I think all the panelists think that it is going to be the destination for 2021.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So, same question, Mr. Suneet, and then I'll probably move on to the other panelists. So, why do you think Ireland can be the destination for 2021, the study abroad destination?
Well, I think it's pretty much clear already. Ireland already has a head start over a lot of the other countries existingly. The quality of education has always been very high. But during this pandemic, it's one of the countries which have adapted really quickly and really fast. The kind of support which is provided has been exemplary. I've rarely seen, any other country, any other universities offering something similar. And with that kind of support, you're always, in a year like this, you really want to be in a place, if something goes wrong at any point in time, there are people who can look after you. There are people who are the support system for you. And, being a friendly country like Ireland is, I think this is so important. And I think we keep talking about Ireland being a friendly country, but I think this is the time we really need it to be. And so I would, if people ask me, I tell them all the time, Ireland is the place to be. The other reason is, of course, Ireland continues to do well economically as well. And students who graduated even last year, even the height of pandemic, when you said the economies were at the bottom, even then the students continue to find good, high quality employment jobs and things like these. So, if at the bottom students continue to do well, so obviously as the economy start to look well, look up, again, we do see students will should do well in 21 and beyond as well. So I certainly think Ireland is already the destination for 2021.
Okay. No, definitely makes sense. I completely agree to what you're saying. Sorry, Mr. Arith, the same question for you. Your views on the same topic? Yeah.
Hi, thanks, Aman, for calling all of us. And my answer is very simple. Go and check the IDA page, and that should tell you why you should go to Ireland. In the worst of situation where everybody's talking about economic meltdown, there's a $7 billion investment from Intel, 20 million from Hewlett Packard. Workday has created 400 jobs. Stripe has created 1,000 jobs. So it's not only about tech. The biggest HR company, which is called SITA, they have created more than hundreds of jobs in Donegal, in Dublin as well. And I think I will concur with what Suneet said, that apart from the industry story, I don't know how many countries have actually given international students, and the government has given international students pay because they lost job. I don't know how many countries have done that.
You're talking about the part-time jobs, right?
The part-time
like
jobs,
students
yeah.
who are working
so
part-time,
students who were working and who lost on that, and people who were not even working, they also received that. So it's actually that they have put literally where money is, the mouth is on the money. We always keep saying that Ireland is a friendly country, but this time they have proved. So I think these two reasons, if you combine these two reasons, that employment opportunities and a safe and a friendly destination in a pandemic situation, Ireland really, really becomes a very strong choice for Indian students.
Yeah. Thanks, Arith. Very well said. So, Lauren, next question is for you. So, we all know that UCD is one of the most popular colleges in entire Europe, right? So, any insight on the flagship courses that UCD offers?
Yeah, and again, just to echo my thanks also to you and the team as well, to be here, to have the opportunity to speak to students that are interested in studying in Ireland today as well. Yeah, I suppose in terms of kind of UCD, UCD is known as Ireland's global university. We're one of the largest universities in Ireland. We have a student body of about 34,000 students and 8,400 international students from around 140 countries. So we have very kind of diverse on-campus presence as well. I suppose in terms of kind of the programs, the flagship programs that are offered by the university, the areas where we see most interest from Indian students are in relation to our graduate taught programs, in relation to computer science. Our computer science negotiated learning master's program is unique in Ireland. If students are looking to business programs, any of the business programs in the UCD Smurfit Graduate School of Business, they usually attract many applications. Our MBA program is ranked 62 in the world, and the Masters in International Management is ranked 8th in the Financial Times rankings, and overall the business school actually is ranked 23 in Europe as well. So that's something to echo, I suppose, the quality of education in Ireland as well, and it's been touched on by other colleagues also as well, and that's across all of the institutions. You know, that's not specific to UCD. All of the institutions are very well recognised around the world. In terms of other programs, our 2-year Masters ME programs in engineering with the built-in paid internships are also very popular. In addition to kind of programs across social sciences and law and economics and politics and international relations. So kind of a very, very wide variety and portfolio of programs is available in UCD, as it is across other institutions as well in Ireland.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So next question is up there for Mr. Prasad. Mr. Prasad, Dublin Business School is one of the leading B schools in the entire country and Europe, right? So from a layman's point of view, obviously a business school will offer courses like MBA, MIM, right? So any insight on the flagship programs that DBS offers?
Yeah. Hello everyone again. So so it's very difficult for me to put one program, as Lorraine herself from UCD has mentioned, and I'm sure in line with the industry needs. If you looked at so in terms of Ireland being the IT hub of Europe, in terms of Ireland being the financial hub of Europe, etc. So our courses are designed in such a way to put into the needs of the economy of Ireland, whereby the graduates can take an advantage in terms of for work after completion of graduation, and to help both their career as well as the fill the gaps in the economy of Ireland in terms of skill requirements. So if you looked at in terms of those, so we've MBA, we've 7 MBAs that we do. One of the most wanted program for international students. Again, in terms of IT, we've programs like data analytics, business analytics, which again combines both sides of the analytics. And then we've again postmodern programs like fintech, financial analytics, and cybersecurity. And as like GBS, and I'm sure more other institutions that are there here, UCD, NCI, and later others as well. I think everyone is keen on investing on the future programs such as virtual reality, augmented reality, etc. So so these would be some of the areas which are very beneficial for students to study, and that's the reason majority of them choose from.
Okay. Very well put, Mr. Prasad. Next question is for Ms. Wendy. Ma'am, so we all agree, everyone who's there on this panel and the audience that has joined us, we all, completely agree that Ireland is a very popular destination for Indian students. So just wanted to understand from you, like, what other nationalities apart from Indians and South Asians prefer Ireland as a study abroad destination?
Okay, like I mentioned earlier, there are over 40,000 international students from 161 countries. Okay,
Yeah.
India is just one of them. India and South Asia is just one of them. The other major ones would be the US. Yes, surprise, surprise, US, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, you have Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, and yes, other parts of Europe also. Okay, so these would be some of the major countries that students from, the world come and study in Ireland.
Okay. Mr. Suneet, next question is for you. So Fateh Education, as you all know, has been on the forefront when it comes down to promoting Irish universities in India. Now that you have 2 more offices in India, just wanted to understand that how has your team of counselors transitioned from working in an office to working from home, and has the experience been the same, especially from the students' point of view? Especially talking about the counseling aspect.
Okay, we've transitioned pretty well. We moved very quickly. One of the reasons was we were always equipped to do that. Our team was always had been given empowered to handle situations like these. So we're having a good, a good transition is what I would say. Would you say has the counseling actually gone up, or do we see any fall in the counseling standard because it's working out of work from home? I think it's the other way around. I think our counseling has actually improved, because now it does modern tools. You can actually share information in real time, you can surf together, you can, students are able to point out certain information on the net which you can immediately solve. So we think the counseling has changed a bit. It's become more collaborative, in the sense now it's no longer about one person talking and the other person listening, and then somebody comes back with questions the next time. It's become more interactive, more collaborative, in a sense that it is allowing students to make a more informed choice. So I think we're pretty much happy with how the things are shaping up in the last few weeks and months. And we think this is going to stay for the future as well. Of course, the offline offices are in place, and it's a good essential touch whenever they need it. But we believe a lot of the essential counseling will remain online. And we're pretty happy in terms of how we've been dealing with it.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Sunit. So, Arithar, next question is to you. So, obviously, you have several Irish universities in your portfolio at One Step Global, right? So, just wanted to understand that what has been the feedback from the student side who went last year? Because obviously, unprecedented times invited unprecedented measures. So, just wanted to understand the feedback that you got from your students last year.
I think the feedback is, see, human behavior is, there's a resistance to change. Any one of us, so all of a sudden going into an online mode. But slowly I can see that it's not about international education or universities only going into an online mode. It's the entire world has gone into, there's companies like Twitter has said that you can work from home forever. So, or an Uber or a Google, these are leading corporations. And I think what students have learned in this last 12 months, and if this keeps on, the online mode continues, is resilience, adaptability, and which is going to be very, very essential for them to actually have a career as and when we are out of this situation, or as and when they graduate. Because this is not going to change. This way of style of working for a lot of institutions, a lot of companies will not change. And that has been quite a positive feedback from students, that there are things which always is not up to your expectation, that look, we have to be online and we can't go to the campus. Everybody wants to go to the campus, but there is nothing, on one hand, there's nothing the universities or the governments can do. And on the other hand, you're actually learning a lot more life skills than you would have if you would have, in a normal situation. So I think these two major points, resilience and adaptability, has really increased in international students, which will actually help them when they go for a career after they're studying.
Perfect. So, Lauren, adding to what Arithra has just said, so obviously, the entire way of working has changed. I'm sure that there is a situation that it might have changed forever, right? So just wanted to check whether the new applicants at UCD, are there more questions in their regular applications pertaining to what they did during the pandemic in order to enhance their profile? Like, are you looking forward to slightly more skills?
In terms of applications, no, it's the same kind of applications and entry requirements that we have from the university. I think what's interesting, and Richard has mentioned it as well, is that things have changed in terms of how people are working, how even academic staff and professors are working with students as well. Obviously, a lot of the classes had to take place remotely at certain points this year, and that was definitely some adapting needing on both sides. But I think the feedback from students that we've received who've been studying in the university this year is that it hasn't made a difference to their studies. They're still being taught the same program. It's still the same program content and subjects that they're being taught. It's being delivered in a slightly different manner. But they still feel they have access to professors. They can make appointments to speak to them virtually. Classes are taking place live, so there's that live interaction that students are enjoying as well. Of course, we prefer if more classes were able to take place on campus this year, but hopefully looking to September of this year that we will be able to accommodate that in a better fashion, obviously following government guidelines. But I think there are certain elements, for example, if students were studying programs that had a lab class or a kind of a placement, that was they were prioritized to take place on campus, because obviously that practical element is very important for students to be able to do that, and small tutorials as well. So I think yeah, look, it was a very different year due to the pandemic, but I think all of the institutions have adapted quite well in Ireland, and students, I don't think students have felt that they've missed out on opportunities in terms of kind of what they're studying, because as I said, it's still the same program delivery, it's the same content that they're being taught as part of the programs.
Yeah. Mr. Prasad, next question is for you. So, I'm sure that out of the 90 plus attendees that we have on the panel, on this panel discussion, there would be certainly prospective students who would want to apply at DBS. So any tips that you would want to give to the prospective students?
In terms of applications, do you mean?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So again, as Lauren put it, there's nothing has changed in terms of entry requirements for courses, or in terms of how we look at a statement of purpose of a student or a CV of a student, because we are just in, it is just that your willingness to do a hybrid program wherein you are meant to have, we don't know when this is going to go off, so we hope as soon as possible. But I think for the next 1 or 2 years, not just in Ireland, but anywhere else, that the studies are going to have, if not a full online mode, but a combination of both. But priority will be given. I know one priority Lauren spoke, which is true, for students with practical labs or where practicality is needed. But the another priority, which I have seen myself in TBS taken care of, and I'm sure across the other universities and institutes in Ireland, is priority for international students, which is an important thing, because being away from home, and being catered into the campus, I think it's more than the domestic students, the international students that require a campus-based environment, and for the mix of the things in terms of communication, in terms of nationality, in terms of multiculturality, if there's a word like that. So I suppose the willingness to have that, and the willingness that it will be at a reduced level, So I think those will be the two key things that an applicant should be addressing.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Prasad. So I've already had a few questions pertaining to the scholarships that can be offered, especially to international students. So would you like to take that up, either of Ms. Lauren or Mr. Prasad?
I can go, then Lauren. Yeah. Okay.
So I can comment.
Yeah. So it's since I'm unmuted anyway. So I think scholarship is one of the best thing that you could give back to international community, especially international student community this time. So yes, we do have a good scholarship for especially for undergraduate computer science students. At the moment, we are offering a 2,350 euro scholarship per year. So basically, they could get a bachelor's degree for 7,500 euros, which is I've been a student myself about 15 years back in Ireland. Comparing to the fees I paid, it's around the same money.
Is it, considering the inflation as well?
Yeah, everything. So it's a good thing. And at other bachelors, other than computer science, we give about, again, 3,000 euro scholarship, but that's over the 3 years. And for postgraduate, 1,000 euro scholarship that we give. And from the knowledge that I have, most of the institutions have taken the baton of passing the scholarship to the students in need. So over to you, Lauren.
Yeah, no, and thanks. I suppose this is similar to for UCD. We do offer a very large kind of volume of scholarships to Indian students. I suppose it's important for students to understand that, like all the institutions, we understand there are many costs associated with studying abroad. We want to support students from India in terms of helping them with their, with these costs and having fee reduction scholarships. For UCD, our top scholarships for Indian students, we have some 100% and 50% VV Giri Global Excellence scholarships, named after VV Giri, the fourth president of India, who studied in UCD a long time ago, 100 years ago. These scholarships are competitively awarded and they're academic merit scholarships. They'll open for applications in October 21 for next year. We do still have scholarships available for students interested in applying for September 21 as well. And obviously students have other opportunities to apply for scholarships in terms of kind of the Government of Ireland scholarships as well. So I think, yeah, similar to DBS and the other institutions around Ireland, the universities and institutions are offering scholarships for Indian students specifically. So I think if students check out each institute's website, they'll get a good kind of full, clear understanding of what's available and how they can apply. In most instances, students must apply for a program firstly before they can get assessed for a scholarship. So that's an important thing to note, that you have to make a program application as well firstly.
Okay, okay. So guys, next question is to both the entrepreneurs that we have on the panel, Mr. Suneet and Mr. Aritra. So obviously, you know, even during the pandemic, I'm sure that the expansion plans were in place and you were hiring people for different roles. So now that, you know, I won't say that we are beyond that phase, but still, you know, we have learned to live with COVID-19 and work during the current situation. So while hiring a new employer, do you guys actually go ahead and foresee any of the skills that the potential employees might have acquired during the pandemic? Because the thing that we are doing at this point in time, this almost was non-existent a couple of years ago.
Suneet, please go ahead. You are opening offices everywhere in this country. So I'm not.
I mean, obviously, you know, in terms of, you know, you need to understand in terms of this, there is skill and there is, you know, there's some things you can teach and some things you can't. I think this normal is not something which people would have come in already having acquired knowledge about. But I think all of us learning as we've gone along. So I don't think that's something we've taken as a benchmark when we're recruiting people.
Okay.
But you see, you know, that's as we go further, I would probably link it to what the education which is happening now. I think the kind of education platform we're building, as I said, and people who study now is probably going to understand how the hybrid workspaces of tomorrow would be. I mean, in so much, you know, as much as we would like to say, I'd want to go back to a full-fledged campus experience, and everybody would. And I'm sure at some time we probably, hopefully, we will probably see a good amount of campus experience in 21. But at the same time, there are certain aspects which have now moved online and will remain possibly online forever. And that's about getting the hang of it in this environment is probably the best. If you look 5 years, 10 years down the line, I think this is essential skills which people should look at building for a future career perspective, you know?
Yeah. Aritra, your views?
I think, you know, I've just got one thing to add, that this is a pandemic, guys, you know. It's not something that we can do anything about it. And there are a lot of other things that we have to be careful about: our health, our family, our benefits and everything. In 2008, I graduated and there was this recession. I think that was even worse for an international student. I studied in outside of my country, and for an international student to stare at a recession. I think as Lorraine was mentioning, you know, the delivery mode has changed. The content remains the same. I think for industries also, the working style has changed or may remain changed. But I don't think that, you know, the consumer behavior has changed a little and all those things, but it's not that the supply and demand and everything has changed and it is not there. So I think certain industries may have felt the brunt a little bit more than the others. But overall, I think 80 to 90% of the industries are like, you know, look, the delivery mode has changed rather than the actual output of it.
Certainly.
So for students and for anybody who is applying for a job, I think be more actively, you know, following these kind of, and hybrid learning actually is going to help them. And I'm repeating myself that this way of learning is going to help them in their jobs as well when they go and apply for their jobs.
Certainly. So, ma'am, next question is to you. So, just wanted to understand that last year, I believe, as Aritra earlier highlighted, Ireland was one of the only countries that was allowing international students onshore. Right. So considering how proactive Ireland was last year, what are the plans in place for the next year or the current year? Let's go with the current year first. Yeah.
Okay, so actually, it's not the only country, it's one of the few countries.
Yeah.
I will correct you on that because it should not seem that Ireland was the only country taking international students.
Yeah.
There are other countries too. Like everybody said, the current year, the current academic year has been a hybrid model where, students are mostly studying online, and if there's essential laboratory work and practical sessions, then there have been some campus components that has happened with all the safety measures in place. Okay, yes, it's not only students who have missed having that campus interaction, but also the lecturers, because it is so much better if they have the students in front of them when they're teaching them.
Yeah.
But what we have got feedback from students who are there in Ireland, both whether it's the international students or the domestic students, it's that the quality of teaching and the learning has been very positive. Okay, all the group work, the class presentations, all the discussions that have happened, okay, have been online, but it has remained as an integral part of the students' learning process. Okay, and the institutions have, because they have this close link with industries and practical nature of the programs, they have been able to get those kind of insights for the students even while they're doing this hybrid kind of thing. That is about the current. Okay, and now about the future, it is a bit, it is, the pandemic is on. Okay, vaccinations drive is on, whether it's in India or in Ireland. All I can say is that Ireland is open and is ready to welcome students even for 2021. And the HEIs will be, following all the guidelines and safety measures that are prescribed by the government of Ireland. They are looking at welcoming students, on campus. And I'm sure, things will be much better by September 2021, because vaccination is on in full swing.
Yeah. Okay. So, Lauren, we've had several questions from the attendees pertaining to the job market in Ireland. Right. So, just wanted to understand from you, like, how did the Irish job market react to the pandemic, especially from an international student's point of view?
Yeah, I suppose this year we definitely experienced a unique year in terms of the pandemic. I think even many of our careers events in UCD that would normally take place on campus moved to a virtual platform this year. What I would say is, although these career events took place virtually, they were still very successful in connecting students with industry. And as I think Wendy and other colleagues have mentioned already, a lot of institutions in Ireland have very close ties with industry, whether it's through kind of student placements or internships or even research links as well. I think companies recognise the quality of the university's programs and the skills that students are graduating with. So they still wanted to meet with our students this year. In particular, the UCD Careers Network office organised many kind of careers fairs and internships fairs throughout the year. Students had the opportunity to meet and network with companies online. I think students were very much still supported by the careers team in UCD, who provide support throughout the year in terms of kind of one-to-one meetings with a careers counsellor to discuss careers opportunities, preparing for interview in Ireland, and also CV preparation. As you know, probably going for interview in Ireland is different than going for interview perhaps in India. I think students as well were also able to avail of opportunities in relation to internships. Many UCD programs have internships as part of their program, and this year students were still able to participate in internships either in person or remotely, depending on the company and obviously depending on kind of government health guidelines as well. So that has dictated a lot of what we've been able to do. But I think, look, students still had the opportunity to connect with the industry, and I think that's across all of the other institutions in Ireland. That piece of work with the careers team in each institution didn't stop because of the pandemic. Companies still are they have graduate programs and they're looking for students, and that's continued kind of throughout the year and will continue into next year as well.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Prasad, just wanted to check with you, like, how did the last year fare in terms of job placements for DBS students?
So this again, this time compared to last year or previous last year, where we had career fairs or employment engagement sessions taking place in the campus, they were all moved to online now. So again, it is the same. Actually, we had more response on the career fairs conducted online because it's just a click away of your mouse rather than walking into it. But as overall, Ireland, I think every economist that you might read from Ireland, that you would read, that as such the macro side of the economy is not affected by this pandemic. And as Aritra pointed out, around that time he graduated. I'm a bit older than Aritra, I guess, in the age. So I was into 2 or 3 years into my job then. I graduated in Tuya. That was one of the worst recession. I was literally in Ireland then, trying to face it. So the macro side of the things of economy have not failed. And I think by the readiness of Ireland, both for the pandemic, the post-pandemic, and the preparation level for the things has been absolutely spot on. And that is the reason I think, as the economics predict, and I'm sure will still predict, among the OECD countries, Ireland will be the least affected country in terms of jobs, in terms of economic stability, in terms of future growth, etc. And I think it is then the onus is on each individual institution or each individual career service. The DBS Career Service is one of the best career services I myself have seen, but each of the universities and institutes have a similar, but how you adapt your career, how they adapt counseling to your students, and how the students receive those counseling will be the main key point. Because I first one believe that, especially with Ireland, the economy at large is not going to change much, because Ireland is still the IT hub of Europe. Google still hiring, Facebook still hiring, and more so probably with like emergence of applications like Teams and Hangouts or similar apps. Like take for example on the platform that we have Zoom. I've not last year. This is the first time since last year I heard. So how many employees that Zoom might have needed in the last 1 year? So whenever in the history, it's the same thing. When you lose an opportunity somewhere, you gain an opportunity elsewhere. And that has been particularly true for Ireland, and especially, you know why I think I leave for the economists to answer that and their analysis. You know what is the best reason that Ireland is predicted not to be going down? Because the base that Ireland built up, the IT hub and financial tech hub, etc., that is predominantly online everywhere, you know? So I think pandemic has nothing to do with this.
Very, very well answered, Mr. Prasad. I think, ma'am, you have a point?
Yeah, so yes, Lorraine, Aritra, Prasad, all have said about, the kind of companies and the job opportunities. But a thought for you students, okay, why not go and study in Ireland after hearing it's such a great country? Go and study this year, okay? The pandemic is on, but this is the best time for you to finish studying, because, a master's is just 1 year in Ireland. You finish it, the pandemic is over, and you're job ready in 2022. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Use this 1 year to develop your skills, to learn, to study in Ireland. And when you are ready for the job market, the pandemic is going to be away. Okay, so I think that is something that students should keep in mind. I mean, Ireland has got all the benefits, everything is there for you. Okay, go and study this year, don't delay, so that you can just get the jobs that are there out in the market.
Yeah. No, makes sense. Makes sense. The sooner a person completes his or her master's, the better it is for them. So completely agree to that. Mr. Suneet, next question is for you. So, like, obviously, your entire team would be encountering so many questions from prospective Ireland students on a daily basis. So I'm sure that because a lot of students, even, a few of my ex-colleagues, batchmates from engineering, they have been to Ireland. They did their masters from Ireland, and a lot of them were interested in working part-time as well. So just wanted to understand that, first of all, what was the experience of those set of students who went last year and wanted to work part-time? And what do you think, obviously, no one can predict future, but anyway, what do you think will be the part-time job scenario in the upcoming intake? Mr. Sunit, you're on mute.
I mean, to be honest, I have a very contrary view to part-time education.
Okay.
It's largely the students going in their postgraduate. And I usually say is that, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. The idea is to look at how you're going to build your career. This is probably a final year of studies before you go in and work all your life anyways.
Yeah.
So it's better to plan for your institution and your city according to your budget rather than having to dip into your part-time work. Okay, yes, where you get an opportunity, do that. I'm sure there will be opportunities will come across even this year. Okay, but part-time work should not be the primary or should not be where used as a way to fund their education. It is anything which comes in probably could be taken as a bonus. And if it's taken as a bonus, I think it will not really impact people where it is. But as I said, ultimately everybody's time is the same,
Yeah.
Spend it towards part-time work, you could spend it towards your own career development, you could spend it towards your academics. Usually what happens is when you do too much of part-time work, you tend to take your foot off the pedal when it comes to your final job in terms of preparing for it. And so my suggestion to all students is do not plan for part-time work. If your budget is constrained, look for this university or a city which matches your option rather than to look for part-time. That's how I would look at it.
Okay. And one more thing I would like to ask. So we all know that the PhD situation in UK is there in place, right? So has it affected the demand for Irish universities?
Not really. I mean, I think there's a different niche for Ireland, there's a different niche for UK. Both coexist at the same time. And what Ireland has built over the last few years, the kind of employability options which is there for students, the kind of environment, the kind of, I said, friendliness. I said, sitting here, we tend to dismiss friendliness, but trust me, it is a very, very significant aspect to it. So the island has built its own niche. There is a certain set of audience which will probably be best served if they go to Ireland, and that audience realizes it and they continue to come back. Yes, UK coming back means there's an alternative option available for students, but that doesn't mean it's coming on the expense of Ireland. It just means it gives students another alternative.
Aritra, your views on the same?
I think I'll agree with you, with Sunit, because see, when Ireland had a post-study work, Australia had, Canada had, USA had, so all these major destinations still were having 2 years, and it wasn't that UK was not receiving students. So UK was still receiving students without having post-study work. So I think the two countries cater to very different two audiences. What it only changes the dynamics is that the reason we are talking about this is because UK is the next door neighbor and Ireland is the next door neighbor, vice versa. But I think for an international student, and as an ex-international student, what you should do is look into the course content first, look into the subject area first, look into the modules first, your budgets, as Sunit said that, don't work part-time. And rather than look into the budget which is more budget friendly for you, and then the opportunities that the country has to offer. Your choice of studying has to also meet with the opportunities that that particular country has in offering. So this is how students should prepare them. We go the other way around. We look into the ranking first, then whatever course they are doing and whatever budgets they are asking for. I think that's the wrong way of doing things. First choose the area, then choose into the modules, then look into the particular institution that you are looking at. Are they good at that area that you are studying or you're willing to study? I've lived a long life in my life in Delhi. All the colleges in Delhi universities are not good at everything, right? Someone says, Hansraj, this is good, Stephens, this is good, right? So in the realm of international education also this will. And so I don't think that UK PSW will really hamper Ireland. I think Ireland has created a niche for itself, and it is here to stay with Indian students.
Yeah.
And the best story is the students who have studied in Ireland, them and check out their LinkedIn pages and where they are working. So that is the best story that, you know.
So Aritra, in a way, you have almost answered the next question I was about to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was about to ask you that as a UK alumni, you know, what would you recommend to a student who has an admit from an Irish university and an admit from a similar rank UK-based university?
So you kept the toughest question for me. You know, I think, you know, it's not about, as I said, that rankings only, because honestly, I went to a Russell Group institution and great university. It served me very well. But does that really mean that someone who has not gone to a Russell Group university has not been justified with their education? I don't think education can be matrixed or you know, measured in terms of what rankings that particular institution has. Yes, ranking is a very, very important aspect of judging one thing. But just to add one point, you know, Harvard and MIT are two biggest institutions of the world.
Yeah.
As soon as we say Harvard, we think about Harvard Business or Harvard Law. And as soon as we say MIT, we think about tech.
Yeah.
MIT has an equally good business school because one school of management, but you know, how many of we instantly think? So I don't think that, and you know, look, Lorraine is there. So high rank, Lorraine, you know, you're there for us. Lorraine is fighting the Irish battle, you know, in terms of when it comes to our rankings. So I'm pretty sure that Ireland universities are as good as the British counterparts, and nothing taking away from the British universities, but they are also pretty, you know, decent institutions that Ireland has. Not only the universities, but also institutions as well.
So, Mr. Prasad, next question is for you. So, as far as I understand, I think an MBA is a very important experience for any international student. So, if you can give us slightly more highlights about the MBA program at DBS, like what would be the batch size, apart from Indian students, which other nationalities form majority of the batch? Yeah, over to you.
So we've a large package of MBA. So we've 7 streams that we do. We do an MBA general, and then you have the contemporary streams in terms of finance, HR, and marketing. And then you have the traditional ones. And in terms of the postmodern contemporary streams in terms of MBA cloud computing, MBA information systems, and MBA project management. The most relevance of an MBA that we do would be a balance between the theory and the practicality that is attached to it. So then you would have things like presentations, both individual and group. Then you have case study analysis, and company visits, which might not be a possibility this year, but in the previous years, etc. And again, that most of the MBAs across the globe that you see would be a 2 years MBA, but the MBAs in Ireland in general, or at DBS, are put into an year where you would have 2 semesters of at 4 months each for your modules, and then you have a final semester of 4 months for your research project. So that way you're balancing both theory and practice. Again, the modules, some of the modules would address the most common issues in terms of current economy, current employability, etc. Okay. Coming to the second question of yours, what is the batch size? Obviously, with Indian students, it's very popular, and it has been popular since years. So across the 7 MBAs, we would have around 120 to 130 students. Again, in terms, but it is across the 7 streams. We don't let any class go over 30 students, because one of the advantages, or what we put it in our terms as a DBS advantage, is that small class size, you know, so we would have that in place. Again, to the third question, yes, majority of the students would be from India or South Asia, etc. But then over the years, we had students from Brazil, we have friends from Nigeria, we have students from US, we had students from Australia, we've other EU country partners in France, etc. So, but it would predominantly be Asian students in terms of Asian or the African students, because that's where the MBA is more popular. But it's there are many takers for it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Prasad. So, ma'am, the next question would be to you. So, during one of your answers, I can remember that you did touch base about the vaccination drive currently going on in Ireland. So, just wanted you to highlight the same, if you can.
Okay, like I mentioned before, the vaccination program, has been on. Okay, it is in full swing, and Ireland is basically the fourth fastest country to, vaccinate its citizens in the European Union. Okay, and by September 2021, hopefully the vaccination drive should be complete. Till I would say March 31st, almost 1.25 million doses have been administered. And hopefully by the end of June, you'll have 55% of the adult population who will be fully vaccinated. And hopefully by, about 82% would have their first jab. So yes, the vaccination drive is in full swing, and by the time students are looking at going to Ireland, we hope that the whole country will receive, if not both their jabs, at least the first jab. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I can safely say that Ireland is very well prepared to combat, any future COVID waves also.
Yes, it is. Yes, definitely it is. The government has actually taken a lot of precaution. The moment they see cases rising, they go into, restrictions. Like the country has been under level 5 restrictions since 26th of December. And hopefully in the next coming week, there will be an ease on the restrictions. They monitor on a daily basis what the situation is. And if there is a problem, yes, like they did last year, even now it is there, where they are giving free medical, care to international students, and they are helping them out. So yes, the government is ready. They have a really structured plan in place, which they implement in phases. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, Lauren, next question is to you. So, you have already seen one batch, undergo their higher education at UCD during the pandemic. So, just wanted to understand, like, how ready is UCD to welcome the next batch of international students in August to September?
Yeah, I think firstly, I think UCD was delighted to welcome many Indian students to the university last year.
Yeah.
I think it's important for students to know that Ireland had a very specific airport arrival welcome in place last year that ensured any students arriving from outside Ireland were collected at Dublin Airport and brought to their accommodation if it was in UCD or other institutions, whether that was on campus or off campus. It was all very specifically organised and ensured and it's a safe arrival for any students arriving to Dublin. I would imagine there might be a similar arrangement in place for September this year, depending on the government health guidelines. Ireland is coming out of a period of lockdown at the moment, and as Wendy has mentioned, the vaccination programme is rolling out. So we're hopeful that the situation will improve over the coming weeks and months. Our plans for on-campus delivery will be guided again by the public health guidelines and the government in Ireland. The university does aim to prioritise face-to-face teaching where possible, in addition to remote learning if that's necessary. Practical classes involving lab work or small group work will be prioritised to take place on campus again this year, as was the case last year following government guidelines. I suppose as well, and it's already been mentioned by other colleagues, learning remotely, it's not a new component to the university. Students would have always engaged in kind of an online manner over the previous years, even in terms of kind of accessing notes and lectures through the UCD system, after classes, which is there as a support to students and kind of complements, in-person class learning too. What I would say is that all the institutions in Ireland will be keeping students informed of any updates over the coming weeks and months. So I would say to students, please do read your emails that you receive from the university, and also join any of the university social media channels kind of to stay informed and up to date for any announcements over the coming weeks and months as well.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So, guys, we all would agree that, in our line of work, we have to travel a lot. I still remember a couple of months every year wherein we practically have to live out of a suitcase. It's one city and the next day we are in a different city attending fairs and all those things. So, my question, this is almost open to everyone, but I would, because Aritra and I, we have discussed this in the past. So, Aritra just wanted to understand that, with universities such as DBS, UCD, institutes such as Education in Ireland, Fateh Education, if everyone is getting so used to conducting, education fairs virtually, do you think we'll ever get back the physical fairs? Because to be very honest, I am missing traveling. I'm sure few of you would also be missing traveling.
Yeah, I think everybody here on the panel is missing traveling,
Yeah.
because it's been a while. And but what I think it's also circles back in the entire conversation, that has the world changed for good? And I think there will be certain amount of physical activities still going on after. We would love Education Ireland organizing those lovely fairs that they used to do. But as a contention of the topic that we are discussing here, I think, and a continuation, that a lot of things have changed. And webinars, nowadays people are more accustomed to webinars. But I still feel that there is a as they say, that you have to shake hands, and there is a thing about physical presence and physical existence. Yeah. And I think for students who are willing to travel to Ireland, don't really get worried that you can't meet Prasad or Lorraine or Wendy or Suneet personally. I'm sure if you go to Ireland you will be able to meet, but try and join as many as social media groups, and try and attend as many as webinars that you can. And please check your emails, because that's the primary source for us to connect. If you don't check your emails, you will forget. And pre-departure briefings, accommodation. Since we are with University Living, I'm just wanting to conclude my thing here, but saying that, accommodation, please be mindful that don't be in a mood that, oh, I'll figure it out when I reach Ireland. And I'll just stay in a hostel or a hotel, and I'll figure it out as and when I'm there. This term, Lorraine, sorry, I'm using a Hindi term. It's called jugaad in our part of the world. That won't happen anymore. So please be mindful of this. That this is not going to happen. Please be more calculative, more methodical in when you are traveling, and you are going to that. But yeah, I would love to travel back again. We used to complain of too much of travel, and this is a payback.
Yeah. So, Mr. Suneet, last question for you. So, when are we expecting the famous Fateh Education fairs again happening? In which month? You're on mute. Yeah.
So, I think we'll have to wait to see how the current wave abates.
Yeah.
We're also missing doing an offline event, and hopefully this end of the year, the normal September or the October-November events which happen possibly might happen to be offline. That's what we're keeping our fingers crossed about. But again, I think we'll have to wait to see how COVID plays out.
Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll open the panel for the Q&A session. We have around 14 to 18 questions which have been asked by various attendees. So first question is to Lorraine. So Lorraine, prospective student Praveen Singh has asked that what is the cohort and batch size of MSc Supply Chain Management at UCD?
For supply chain management, the number of students in the program is around 30 students. I guess it's in terms of kind of employability and kind of opportunities after that program, I think there's over a 95% percentage of students who are employed after kind of 6 months from graduating from that program. So that's one of our very, very popular programs within the business school. Actually, I would say to any students who are interested in any of the postgraduate taught business programs in UCD, in the UCD Smurfit School, if you go to the website, they have a lot of kind of data and information around kind of careers and employability after each of the programs, as well as the program information as well. So yeah, it's a competitive program to get a place on as well. That's the class size is 30. That's for all students across all nationalities. So obviously we have a lot of students applying from India. We have a lot of students applying from around Europe, from Ireland, and across other countries as well. So one thing I would say to students that are interested in any of the UCD programs, we don't have specific deadlines for applications, but once the programs are open and they become full, then we don't take any more applications. So that's one thing to bear in mind. And I think that's a good tip for any students looking at any universities or institutions in Ireland. Apply as soon as you can. You know, as soon as the applications open, be prepared and have your documentation ready to make an application, so that your application can be assessed as soon as possible, because that's you know you're going to have, especially for programs where there might be capacity restrictions or institutions who receive a lot of applications for certain programs. The best thing to do is to be as prepared as you can to make an application as soon as you can when applications do open.
Okay. Very well answered, Lauren. Now, ma'am, I think the next question, you will be the best suited to answer the same. So an attendee named as Meghna Sharma, she wants us to throw some light on the IRP card issuance. She says that, few of the offices in Dublin are closed at this point in time. So how to get IRP?
Yeah, there's been ongoing updates around kind of IRP and visas, and even for students who had travelled to Ireland and then who had returned to India, it is kind of updating daily. To be honest, I'm even getting emails this week about offices and when they'll be open, on kind of extensions for students to be able to apply for it. So it's I think what the most important thing to note is that there's support for students. I think the visa office and the visa teams, whether it's in Dublin or in India, they recognise that students need flexibility, and they have been able to offer flexibility, and even there's been a recent extension until September for students as well. So that's something that's important for students to know. I think for students who are planning on coming into Ireland this September, I think now is kind of the time of year when we would generally advise students to start kind of gathering their documentation for their visa application and start to consider that, because obviously things have been changing, even in the last few months, and especially last year as well. There were there can be delays with visas depending on if offices have to close. Because again, we're following guidelines in Dublin, and also India, the visa office is following government guidelines. So that students have to be kind of prepared as best they can to have their applications ready to go once visa offices are open. But look, it is changing. It's changing a lot, and there are a lot of updates. I would say please stay in contact with the relevant institution. They will give advice around visas, and also of course counsellors and partners that we work with, partner agencies as well, that all the institutions work with. They will provide support around visa applications and advice as well. So that's a very, very useful piece that partners will provide to students as well.
Okay. Thanks, Lauren. Mr. Suneet, I think you will be the best suited for the next question. So Vartika, one of the attendees, she's asking that if any advice can be given on the visa documentation that is required in order to apply for various universities at Ireland.
Okay, so Aman, basically the documentation isn't very complicated as it might seem. What the visa office wishes to understand is the documents you've used to seek admission, the academic documents are in place. So that's what we need to submit. Two, they need to understand you have enough funds to cover for your education expenses in Ireland. So they need to see funds in, to cover for your fees and for living. So those funds can be demonstrated in multiple forms in your bank accounts, in your, deposits, in certain liquid investments, So documentation would change depending on which form of investments you have. The financial documents will change depending on the kind of investments you have. but the academic documents would remain by and large standard for everybody, and students pretty much aware what documents they've used for admission into universities.
Mhm. Okay, thanks, Mr. Sunil. So, Mr. Prasad, Lauren, I think the next question is open for both of you. This is related to so Anshuman Dwivedi has a question that he has 8.5 years of work experience in BF data warehousing field. So he's planning for masters in business analytics. Will Ireland be a good choice for him considering he has tons of work ex and he is currently in a middle level leadership role at his current job. So do you think pursuing a master's in business analytics would help Anshuman elevate his career?
Lauren, this time it's your chance.
Yeah, no. So yeah, we have a master's in business analytics. In again in the UCD Smurfit Business School. This would be one of our top programs within the business school. I do know that there is 100% employment after 6 months for students who do this program. Again, it's a smaller program. There's only I think it's 15 maybe students in the whole program. So it's a very specific program and quite competitive to get a place on the program. What I would say to students, it is good to have work experience. It's not necessarily part of the entry requirements for all programs. If students are making applications, they will be able to see the list of entry requirements that are usually we're the most important thing are students and an academic background. If students have work experience, certainly include it, put it in your CV and mention that as well. That can usually be of additional benefit to students after they graduate from the program when they're trying to secure employment. But again, it doesn't really, it's not a kind of an element either. In other programs, we have students who come in as freshers and they still are able to, apply for graduate programs. So you don't have to have a huge volume of work experience. For our MBA program, you do need to have work experience. But apart from that, it's nice to see it, but it's not an essential kind of entry requirement. But yeah, it depends. It depends on obviously the student's profile and kind of their academic background. So what I would say is that, again, our partners, the agents that we work with, they will be able to advise students in terms of kind of making applications and provide that support as well. And then any, obviously, we need to assess applications online. We don't kind of make on the spot offers when we meet students either. We have to see everything coming through the system as well to review as part of the application process to the university.
Okay. Ms. Wendy, next question I think will be for you. So will the Ireland Embassy in India accept Duolingo for the upcoming September intake?
Yes, they are. So it's not only Duolingo, but IELTS, then you have the TOEFL. So they're accepting everything, including Duolingo. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
And guys, few of the students have definitely asked the same question in one way or the other, that would it be wise to get a few years of work experience after graduating in India and then join a university in Ireland, or a fresher just out of college from India can also apply to universities in Ireland and get the same employment opportunities? So, Mr. Prasad, would you like to take that up, or Aritra, if you can? Yeah, Aritra.
Yeah, I think, it's about a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
So there can be only one CEO or one COO.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have experience, you're looking at a different level of the pyramid. If you say,
Yeah.
for example, Anshuman is looking at a different level of the pyramid,
Hmm.
who doesn't have the experience of, may have no experience or not. That's the bottom rung of the pyramid. But the pyramid is actually, that bottom rung actually employs the most amount of students or most amount of applicants in any corporation. And that is not going to change whether it's pandemic or not a pandemic. So I don't think that, yes, experience is good to have, but it's not that, and I hear this a lot, that Ireland has become a destination for only experienced graduates, who has got work experience. I would say strongly this is not true. There are a lot of students who have gone into studying into different institutions without job experience and have managed to secure, good opportunities in Ireland, work-wise. Indian students, I'm saying. So this is,
Okay, okay. Mr. Prasad, and ma'am, if you have any point on the same.
I just wanted to add to it that I completely agree with Ritra. It is an added advantage if you do have, but if you actually looked at, if students have taken a minute of their time and actually they have looked at the employability, the critically skilled visa list, where they list titles of the jobs that are available in terms of critically skilled, you would see elements like junior computer engineer and junior Java developer, these sort of roles. So it is not just to the guys who have 5 years of work experience, 6 years of work, they are the ones who are going to be successful. And the very PSW, which is 2 years after the course, does not state that there is an experience requirement to be having it, means that yes, that critically skilled level of a fresh graduate is needed for Irish economy as well. In case if there was one that the Irish economy only needs and wants someone with a 2 or 3 years of work experience, I'm sure they would have thought well to add that condition to say that, okay, after course completion in Ireland, you need to have a minimum of 2 years work experience before you have the post-study work experience. So that is not so. So obviously it is not so. So again, it is that level of job that you're looking at. And in saying this, there is no denying fact, like some of the MBAs in Ireland, or some of the courses require 1 or 2 or 3 years work experience, sometimes 5 years of work experience. Our MBAs do not require work experience, but an advantage if you do have. So it is what courses you are targeting, what type of roles you are targeting after your course completion. That should matter in choosing a course or a country, rather than whether it takes experienced graduates, it doesn't take experience. I think that those become immaterial once you join the course.
Okay. Lauren, next question is for you. How good is a prospect for doing masters in mechanical engineering in Ireland, or if you can consider it to be at UCD?
Yeah, so we have a master's in mechanical engineering. We have an ME in mechanical engineering. This is a 2-year program. Actually within our College of Engineering, we do have options for 1-year programs and options for 2-year programs. For the 2-year programs, we do have the built-in paid internship as part of the program. So that's why these programs are 2 years in duration. For the 1-year program, there's no internship. So it depends on what students want to do. I would say most students do opt for the 2-year because they have the opportunity to take the internship, and this is organised by the university. We have an internships manager within the colleges and departments in the university that assists students in applying for the internships. And these are students have to go for a formal interview. It's not a guaranteed thing, so they do have to prepare for the interview with companies when they are doing the internships. And I suppose the benefit of doing this is that students have a link to industry. So again, on kind of what we've been discussing around kind of students who, whether they're freshers or whether they have already experience when they're coming to Ireland and to study in the universities. Students obviously who don't have experience, this benefits them. It gives them that kind of professional work experience. And then for students who are coming with work experience from India, they then have an opportunity to get some European work experience on their CV and kind of build up networks and links with industry in Ireland as well. And we have had back and worked for companies after they've graduated, companies that they've done their internships in. And again, look, this year that didn't stop, the process didn't stop. Students were still able to do internships either remotely or in person, again depending on the companies and the government health guidelines. So that's important for students to know as well. Yeah, and look, internships are important, and even separate from engineering, other programs within the university would have internships as part of them as well. And then some programs don't. We do see students taking up kind of internship placements during vacation time and kind of periods of breaks in the university as well, and that's fine too. And this is similar across all universities and institutions across Ireland. Depending on what program you're studying, there may be opportunities for placements and kind of internships and to kind of build connections with industry. But even outside of that, if there aren't opportunities, the careers offices within the institutions would still be able to link students to industry, and you know, when students are attending the careers fairs, as we mentioned earlier also.
Yeah, okay. So Mr. Suneet, next question, I think you can answer the best. So there's a student who is about to finish the first year of his bachelor's degree, right? But the student wants to apply for a university in Ireland. So basically, he wants to, again start the graduation and, skip the graduation program that he is undergoing in India. So is there a possibility that he can do that? First question. And second, and will there be a certain criteria that he needs to match if a scholarship can be availed?
Okay, Aman, on a generic level, most Irish institutions would allow the student to apply for admission.
Okay.
Student getting accepted would depend on what the student, how he is fared both in a standard 12th. That would be common for everything. And some institutions might also want to see how the student is faring in year one, where he is completes it. Between these two, the decision would be taken on whether the student will be accepted into that institution or not. But yes, can the student apply? Yes, he can. Does he get eligible for higher scholarships? No, he has to apply for the same scholarships everybody else does, which remains competitive and would remain because the best students would tend to get those scholarships. So if he has a good score, and we've seen a lot of times with good score students apply, and I've seen students get even up to 100% scholarship where people have dropped a year and gotten. But that doesn't mean that's for everybody. That just means that's for exceptionally bright student who has then decided to change streams,
Okay. Okay. So Arith, next question, I think you can answer the best. So how much is the tuition fees at various Irish universities? I know, that's a very broad question, but if you can, give us an idea about the tuition fees at NCA, that would suffice half the purpose, I guess.
Yeah, so NCI will be at 15,000 euros for postgraduate programs all across the line, and there are scholarships available for NCI students, so it can range from 2,000 to 4,000 euros, and for undergraduate programs is around 10,000 euros. So just to answer one small thing about the all over fees. Institutions in universities, they are all dependent on the courses, and the universities have different kind of things. The best bet for students will be to go and check on the websites, or to actually contact someone like Suneet, because he will have a broad range and a thorough range of all the institutions, or Wendy, because me, Prasad, or Lorraine can actually talk about one particular institutions. So so they can actually check with Suneet or the website, that will be better for them.
So next part of the question is about the living expenses. So I can take up the question pertaining to the expenses related to accommodation, but about the other personal expenses.
So it is as per the the Irish visa guidelines. It's 7,000 euros or 10,000 euros sometimes, but honestly speaking, if it is a Dublin-based institution, students should have access to at least 12,000 euros.
Okay.
So all three, institutions, if I can call myself NCI still, Lorraine, Prasad, and myself, we are representing, a Dublin-based institution. So we should be having at least 12,000 euros access to that. And I think even the accommodation party will be a better person to speak about, but the living expenses total should be having at least 12,000 euros if you are studying in Dublin mostly. Not sure about it.
Yeah. So when it comes down to the accommodation aspect in Dublin, so what I recommend student is that obviously, staying in a private apartment, that experience is very, very different to staying in a student accommodation. So majority of the students are not aware about, the student accommodation options which are actually present in Ireland. So these are sometimes at par, sometimes slightly better, sometimes slightly worse than the university halls. But the experience matters a lot. And if a student wants to stay at a student accommodation, the budget for that particular, for an ensuite room should be somewhere from it should range from 800 euros to 1000 euros per month, and that is inclusive of all the various utility bills and the access to the various amenities present at that particular student accommodation. If the student wants to stay in a private apartment, then the budget should be at least 600 euros, and below that the experience will go for a toss. So 600 euros to 1000 euros is something that you can have in mind. And pertaining to other cities, you can get in touch with us. I'll share my email ID, and whatever requirement you have, I'll be more than happy questions. And in the background, Aritra and Prasad have been really kind and answering the questions over the chat itself. So, the last question, we can take this. It has three parts. So, Mr. Suneet, this question has been directed towards you. So, the question is that I have received offer for MSc in supply chain management from TU Dublin, but they're not offering scholarship this year. So, any reason that you think that they're not offering scholarship? Plus, can Fateh Education help the student get scholarship in any other manner?
Okay. The thing is, I wouldn't be able to comment why TU Dublin is not offering scholarships. That's an internal matter. What I can say is this year, usually TU Dublin would have scholarship. This is a year where they have scrapped all scholarships. So I would not be able to help students get a scholarship with them this. Okay, so we do help students in terms of applying and being able to, to maximize the chances of a scholarship. But that scholarship must exist. But TU Dublin this year, there are no scholarships. So fortunately, we would not be able to assist in trying to get a scholarship at TU Dublin.
Okay. And Mr. Suni, there are some questions pertaining to few of the universities which are not being represented on the panel as of now. So would you be able to take that up?
Oh, I can try to do that.
Yeah. So there's this student who is saying that he has finished his graduation in BCom and having 2 years of working experience in internal auditing. The student has applied for an MSc IAA at NUIG. So after the post graduation is complete, what can be the various job roles that can be open to him if the course goes as planned at NUIG?
Okay, so international accounting and analytics, which the course the student has applied for, it's a super course. It has a KPMG, behind it as well. So this is a course we've seen which has been running for 3 years, and for the last 3 years we've seen all our students find employment. Okay, so I can talk about what's happened in the past. Obviously, the past is not a guarantee of the future, but it does give us a direction where we're headed to. So based on my experience, I would rather feel confident in the student finding employment at the end of this course at a good position.
Okay. Another question is for Maynooth University. So another student, Sahil Shah, has got an admission at Maynooth University for MSc in Data Science and Analytics. He wants to know how is that particular course and what can be the job opportunities for this particular course at Maynooth.
Okay, see, data science, generally, Ireland is very strong with data science, anything with data science and data analytics. Ireland is very strong. We've generally seen our students find employment easily. Of course, they have to do their, they have to go through the hoops and for that matter. And the same holds true with Maynooth. So finding employment in data science for somebody applying to Maynooth should not be that much, it should not be an issue as long as the student has worked hard for his employment.
Okay, makes sense. So I think we have answered most of the questions. So I think we have had a really productive discussion. If Miss Wendy, anyone wants to address the crowd, then please feel free to do that. And any parting bit that you want to share, please feel free to do that.
I think this has been an interesting discussion and quite intelligent questions from students, very, very specific. So they've done their homework. So that's really good. And I think on behalf of everybody, we hope to see you in Ireland. Suneet is here to help you all. I know there was a question of, why Ireland is promoting agents. Okay. We say you can work with whoever you're comfortable with. You can apply directly to the institutions, but the agents are there to help and guide you. you can see from today itself, Sunit was able to answer questions
Yeah.
from, the institutions who are not there here. Okay, so you can use both. Okay, so yeah, all the best for your application for 2021, and we hope to see all of y'all in Ireland.
Perfect. Lorraine, any parting words for the audience?
Yeah, no, I just echo what Wendy has said. I would say to students, please do stay in contact with any of the institutions where you've maybe got offers or secured places with. There will be a lot of information being sent from the institutions over the summer. Also, please stay in contact with your counsellors, such as Sunit's team and FATA as well. They'll be providing updates from Ireland and from the institutions as well. And there will be a lot of pre-departure sessions taking place. Each of the institutions will be conducting these. Wendy and her team in EI will be also doing overall pre-departure sessions. So those are very useful sessions for students to join, and also connect with other students as well, who will be travelling to Ireland as well. And we absolutely look forward to seeing everybody in September when things have improved, I think, across India and Ireland as well. So that's something that we do look forward to doing.
Perfect. Mr. Prasad, your parting words?
Thank you, Aman and team at University Living for taking the initiative. I think the question to start with is Ireland the destination for education in 2021 has been answered for next a decade, I guess. So we are all in line how good is Ireland and how better Ireland has adapted, and particularly institutions like ours or UCD or any other Irish education institution to adapt to the conditions. And as I said, Ireland was at the forefront of addressing these issues. So if there was any concern for any of you that that might hamper your chances of choosing Ireland as a study destination because of pandemic, I would say straight away put it aside. And we have some valuable agents like Sunit himself here, or with Aritra, with this group of institutions. So the best way is make sure to keep in contact with your institution. Don't hear about any, don't take reading much into the forwards and WhatsApp group or Facebooks that Ireland is not doing this or university is not doing this, etc. Your best bet to find what is happening would be the institution that you're going to apply or the agent that you applied through. They will be the best persons to answer your queries about Ireland or how it's impactful and what's the course and things, etc. So thank you very much again, the group and the fellow colleagues, and welcome to write to me or to any of the guys here with any other additional questions.
Perfect. Aritra, your parting words?
I think, very short and simple, I'll say that Ireland is going to get vaccinated, as Wendy said. So maybe it's a good time for you guys to leave India and go to Ireland because the speed of our vaccination is and the size of Indian population and international students are a part of that vaccination program. So, start packing your bags to go to Ireland in September. And jokes aside, I think I'll just only echo what Lorraine said, that please keep in touch with your specific institutions and your counselors who are helping you to reach to Ireland. And please do not read too much into, rumors and WhatsApp chats or the WhatsApp university, whatever it's called. Okay, so that's my parting words. Thanks, Aman.
Yeah. So Aritra, just wanted to highlight one thing. So Lauren and I, we were discussing this yesterday. So when it comes down to the vaccination drive that is going on in India, so we are approximately vaccinating around 25 lakh people on a single day. So if this were to happen in Ireland, the entire population of Ireland can get vaccinated in 2 days.
No, absolutely. It's 1.3 billion versus 4 million. So for our students, and the age group that we are looking at, 18 to 25, till the time we receive a vaccine, it may be 2022. I'm not saying, I'm just kidding here, but at least in Ireland, you have a chance to get that quicker than a mammoth population that we are in in India.
Certainly. Mr. Sunil, any parting words from your end?
Okay, I am a very firm believer in science. I would never bet against it, somewhere, given the pandemic is almost a year and a half, or kind of not 1 year, it's 16 months into it. I would always expect science to come trumps over this at some point, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. So when at this point in time, things might look hazy, but I have a very firm view, as what Wendy said. Today it might seem difficult, but when you look at it, when you graduate next year in 2022, you've had the worst behind you, and it have turned out to be the best decision you've taken in your career. Okay. So I said, if I, as a betting man, I would put my money purely on science and not on the rumors, and I would go with it. I would go look to upskill myself, plan myself, look for how the world has changed, look for how the companies want, and there's no way to do it than by through education.
Perfect. Great, guys. I think we had a really productive discussion. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contribution and for joining in. Thank you, all the attendees. We tried our level best to clarify all the doubts that you had. Rest, I have shared my email ID and my contact number. If you have any more questions which can be addressed to this wonderful panel that we have, please feel free to drop me an email. Otherwise, if you have any requirements pertaining to your accommodation in Ireland and around, you can connect me on my contact number as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone. See ya. Bye.
Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.